Good morning, everybody. You're tuned to Computer Studio now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple hours, along with Edie.
Morning.
Good morning. And Gal is here.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning. And Nick.
Good morning, everyone, as well.
And Spence is here.
I think so.
Yeah, you are. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computer Studio Voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by vMix Software and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. Another new week.
Yes. Okay. I'm
Okay.
gonna start off.
Alright.
Nick started off last time with his complaints. Now I have my complaints. It's like I have a love-hate relationship with Microsoft. So I've been using Power Automate to automate my life, and it's amazing piece of software that Microsoft makes, and it basically codes without coding, so you could set up automatic processes on your computer. What I'm using it for is to get information from a website and put it in an Excel document. And I need it to loop it and repeat it. So grab the information, put it into the Excel, grab new information, put it in the same Excel. And it started out great where it will launch the Excel document and it's fine, but then it stopped working. I was like, oh, I can't find the Excel document. And I'm like, what do you mean? Here's the path to the Excel document. And I was like, okay, well, maybe it's freaking out. So I just renamed the Excel document and then it worked. And it worked once. And I was like, perfect. And then it stopped working. And I was like, why is it not working? It's like, where is this Excel document? And I put the Excel document on my desktop for easy access to test it and blah, blah, blah. And I Googled the problem. I was like, why doesn't it see it? I pathed directly to it. And it was like, oh, well, if it's on your OneDrive, then sometimes it freaks out or whatever. And I was like, it's not on my OneDrive, it's on my desktop. Then I looked and I have a Windows 11 and my Windows 11 says my user, my name, OneDrive, then desktop. I'm like, what? I didn't put it in OneDrive. So I took it out. I took it off my desktop. So I was like, I don't understand what's going on. And I put it in my documents, and nowhere in the bar did it say anything
You're
about.
still in OneDrive.
Well, nowhere in the bar did it say anything about OneDrive, like the path bar. So I was like, this is great. It's going to work now. It worked once, and then it didn't work. And I was like, oh! So I moved it around on the hard drive into different folders, into different places. It still didn't work. And then I went on and I disabled OneDrive. I canceled it out or whatever. Still didn't work. And so finally I got fed up and I just took it off my computer completely and put it on Dropbox and it worked. And I haven't had problems since. Why is this not working? It's driving me crazy. Anyways, that's what I've been dealing with.
So, can anybody answer?
No, I don't know what's
Oh.
the reason. I do know the first thing I uninstall on a fresh Windows installation is any crapware, including OneDrive.
Yeah.
Now,
Sorry.
Can I make a counterpoint to your point, Gal? What?
Yeah.
For a technically savvy person, I would tend to agree with you. Probably would want to uninstall OneDrive. For the layman, if you're using Windows 11 with a Microsoft account, which you have to, it's actually a free way to back up your documents and all of that stuff. So if depending on how, like, for example, on my laptop, and I mean, I'm a tech person. I use the built-in OneDrive. I don't store a lot on there, but it's nice to always have this in case I run my laptop over with a car or gets stolen or something like that. The couple of documents I have are backed up on OneDrive.
So this
Yeah,
is
my problem is the same way as with using any other free service, right? So if you want to use a free service, that's fine. At least don't use whatever is baked into the system, because then you are completely tied and completely there's no lateral movement after that. Now, you don't want to be too technical, fine. Then just open a Dropbox account, right? Do something that is at least not too well tied to that system. Because once you feel too comfortable within an ecosystem, you can't move out. You just can't. It's too much hassle.
Here's my
That's
problem
what
with it
drives me.
though, is when I used OneDrive on my Windows 10 machine, it worked like Dropbox. Like it had a separate folder that I knew I was
Right.
using OneDrive because I put stuff in the OneDrive folder. In this instance, on my computer, everything on my hard drive was OneDrive, even though it's not OneDrive. Like I had like there was
Not everything on the hard drive, but everything within
well
your user profile.
everything I was like wherever I put the thing, it kept saying OneDrive.
Did you create a folder on the C root
Yep.
and put it there?
Yeah.
That
I went all the way back to where there was nothing. It was just the C and then a folder for Excel and that, and it still didn't work. And this is what was happening. It didn't give me the error message that said it was OneDrive's fault. What it said is that at that point the error message was, so what the program would do, or the Power Automate, is it would open up the Excel document, add in the new data, and then I would have it save, and then for each time it did that. Well, it couldn't save the file. It would say, oh, we can't save, we're having problems. So I went into the Excel document and I was like, why can't you save? And when I hit Control S to save, it would try to save as. And then I looked at it, and each time it opened up the Excel document to put in the data, it opened up a new instance of it. Like it wouldn't open the same file. So I had like 10 different Excel files that were all named the same. And then I was like, I Googled the problem. They're like, oh, well, that happens with OneDrive when you're like trying to sync and it has multiple instances and blah, blah, blah. I was like, I don't care. Just why is it not opening the one? It's like these floating versions that are out in the cloud, I guess, even though I'm not using the cloud. It was just really frustrating.
But it's working right with Dropbox.
Yeah, I put it in Dropbox and I haven't had a problem since.
Yeah, but she had to uninstall OneDrive. That's what she said.
It's still
So-
installed. I just turned it off. Like I went and logged out so that it wouldn't. So because what I was thinking that, okay, if my computer is defaulting to OneDrive because it's a Microsoft computer, well then I just want to turn off OneDrive so that it stops trying to back it up on OneDrive. Because I think that's the problem, right? Is that I have it open and in the background it's trying to like cloud back it up or something. Well, I don't want it to do that because that's obviously messing up the process.
Right.
But anyways, I just got really angry because there was a lot of troubleshooting trying to figure out this issue. And what was even more frustrating is like it's a Power Automate is a Microsoft product that isn't communicating correctly with Microsoft's product OneDrive. Like, well, get your crap together, Microsoft. What's going on?
That's strange. I agree.
Anyways, I have a talent
I
for
mean, the
breaking
only
stuff.
way, the only lesson I have here is there's a saying that says it's better to be wise or better to be smart than wise, right? Because a smart man doesn't go into trouble that a wise man can get out of. So
Well, my favorite saying is it's better to be pissed off than pissed on. So, I take your wise man.
That is
your wise
true.
man quote right there. It's funny though, Katie, you mentioned the idea that the problem was existing because OneDrive was constantly trying to open the file to back it up.
Yeah.
Yet it's in Dropbox, which is most definitely grabbing the file and backing it up. And that's fine. It's super weird.
Exactly. That's what
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like the way when Microsoft redid their software, was it like 2003? This is like a really long time ago. Remember where they changed everything, where they like Word and everything, where they changed the top of the software where you click file but it doesn't actually bring down the drop down menu. It like takes you to a new page.
when they introduced the ribbon. Yeah,
Yeah,
2013.
exactly. Well, yeah, when they introduced that stuff, everything's broken for me. Like it has not run smoothly since. And I've actually stayed away from Microsoft as long as I can. I've been using Google Sheets and Google Drive and all this stuff. But when it's like the corporate world is all sucked into this Microsoft stuff, and so it's just ugh. They make
Folks,
great
this is
stuff, but it's also awful.
I have to talk just to the listener right now. Katie is sounding an awful lot like Amnon, and this is a real problem because we can't have two people on this show that hate Microsoft.
No, this is the thing though. I love Microsoft. They make great products. Like Power Automate is amazing. But the thing is that to get it to talk to its own software, to its own sister software, it blows up. Why does it blow up? Like I don't understand. I mean, it's probably user error. I'm probably messing
No,
something
I don't think
up.
it's user error. I think there's probably there's most definitely something else at play besides that.
And
Because the fact that you moved the file just to your local drive and it didn't do it, it's something to do with the pathing or permissions on the file or something of that nature, most definitely.
yeah, and maybe I found a bug, but I'm not doing anything
Oh,
complicated.
that's also very possible.
The only thing I'm doing is I'm grabbing the function of Power Automate. It's a standard function. I haven't edited it because I don't pay for the pro version. I put it in my flow and it says, okay, where's the document you want to open? And I find it, and then it's like, well, what do you want to do to the document? And I just say save as or save. Just save the document. That's it. So I'm not coding anything special. I'm not doing all this crap, but it still breaks. Anyways, Microsoft should hire me to be a bug tester because I'm very good at breaking things.
They just fired all of their QA testers.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, there's a position open then.
So that's not far from the truth. With we know that Microsoft has over the years changed their development process. They've changed their post-development process and moved people around, not necessarily to our favor. But I have a rant on functionality on a very wonderful website. It's anybody try to renew their passport online, which you can now do.
Oh boy.
You can actually go. It used to be you had to either appear in person at the post office to be interviewed, and then renewing was you had to submit a picture by, I'm not sure if it was email or send it by, but the last time I renewed it was relatively easy, but there was no online capability. Now the Department of State has enabled, it's still under development, but you can renew your passport online. And it took, the first time I went through, I did myself, and I'm going to do Pam as soon as it works again. And you have to go in and create an ID on mytravel.gov, which is their website for this, the Department of State. And then from there, you can go in and try to open up an application, but it is so flaky. And you can only use Edge or Chrome. If you're in a Mac environment, you can only use Safari on a Mac. No other browsers are supported. But to try to find a picture that the algorithms like, they recommend that you go get a professional picture done. Of course, I'm never going to do that. But I did actually get to the point where it would accept the picture after multiple attempts. Oh, this is too compressed. Oh, the resolution isn't good. This is too hard. Literally, and the pictures look fine to me.
But you finally did it.
I did it, but
yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart. It's not like, oh yeah, I'll just go renew my, I have an hour, I'll go renew my passport. No.
So who is it? This is the state or the federal government?
Federal government.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
Department of State. Department of State.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah. But if you go to try this, expect to have frustrations where you go in, you create your ID, and then you try to log in, and they have a one-time password that applies every time you log in. It sends you a one-time password to email to log in. And whether you even get to that point before it freezes is a question. Sometimes you'll get the password in the email, but you go to the screen where it's supposed to open up, it just sits as a white screen. Nothing happens. If you get to the point where you put it in there, sometimes it'll go opening and just sits there and tries to open for hours. So I just said, let me come back later. But when it finally works, it's great because it's still expensive. It's $160 to renew your passport.
How much is it if you go to the post office?
$160.
Okay, so it's the same.
But
You know what the most frustrating part about all of this is? And this isn't just Department of State, whatever department that is. This is the IRS. This is every other federal agency. They over-engineer these systems to the point, and they spend so much money getting these things built that and the use is normally awful. It's like uh, I've never seen such over engineering for products that don't. And you go back and look at healthcare.gov. Where they spent some ungodly amount of money on that, and it didn't even work. It's like I don't know how the bidding process works for technology at the federal government level, but it seems like everything that they try and develop
you
themselves
pick
is
the most
mitigated
expensive
disaster.
vendor who's a friend of yours.
I mean, I guess so. Yeah, that's seemingly what it sounds like, because it's amazing that something, that obviously if you're talking about renewing a passport, there's a check system to make sure that you're going through the process, but I mean, good Lord, it's not that complicated. I mean, we're not talking about getting you like national security clearance. It's about renewing a
Yeah.
passport.
I think that the selection process probably has a lot more variables that are not considered to be technical. Things
That's probably true.
requirements like you need to come from. I mean, I'll give one example that's I have supported, but a veteran-owned business. Usually, you can say this is a veteran-owned business, and people like that idea and respect it, and will consider you over and above one that isn't. But what are the other variables that are hot today that would be there for you to consider a business, even though they might not be the best qualified? They'll get more points when it comes to who's actually reviewing it. So,
Well, and I think another part of the problem here, and this is, I guess you could zoom out and make this more broad, is in general when you've got people that are too technical building a system, and you don't have laymen or normal people that use the system as part of that process. That's
Mhm.
the result. When you have a bunch of engineers building something that the user needs to interface with, and they don't have any they don't have any users guiding them along the process, that's what you end up with.
That's a position called UX design, user experience design, and that is
Yeah.
a whole career and whole field. So you're totally 100% right that they just didn't hire a UX to design it.
has
Like-
anybody ever?
No, they just hired 20. That's the problem.
Yeah. 20 UX designers had $1.5 million stipend for this lovely project.
Has
I'm sure.
anybody ever used the North Carolina sales tax payment system? Where you pay, if you're
No.
a small business, you pay sales tax every quarter, every month, depending on the size of the business. It is like it's written in Visual Basic from the XP days.
Probably
It's-
is.
And I can show you screen captures of it. That's exactly what it looks like. And you go in, and every county, there's 100 counties in North Carolina. And if you work in any county, you have to apply the sales tax rate for that county.
Yeah.
Because it's different. It's 4.25 for the whole state. And then each county has whatever they have. But you have to report each county individually down a list. You go to the page, you said, I'm going to report what's your total taxable income, and then you got to divide it up. But you put numbers in one screen that don't move automatically to the next screen. It says, make a note of the things that you wrote on this screen so you can carry them forward to the next screen. It's just
Right,
you
but
see,
come on. Now you're complaining about, okay, so we had a system that works paper only, right? And somebody put it verbatim online,
Yeah.
allowing you to put it in they didn't do any work. They did it in the simplest possible way, right? All you do is you fill up the forms again, just online, okay? So complaint number one is they put it online, but they didn't make it smart, right? They didn't do it. On the other hand, right, you're saying on the other side, they over-engineer things. It tests too much. It checks. It makes sure it won't even. So there's always a balance. And it's true, it's hard to get that balance. And not only that, I think for something like a government entity, it's also really hard to collect the feedback because the feedback is mixed up with political gripe and gripe and right. Nobody's coming clean and telling you, look, there's a better way of doing it better, because there's always somebody driving an agenda. So
They
we're stuck
actually
in a loop.
they actually make an attempt to get feedback because there's a hotline you can call and you can talk to, and I called and talked to people about it. But their point was, they said, it's not going to be fixed. We get complaints about this all the time. They're not going to fix it. But once you use it for a while, you have good notes and you get used to knowing. And the best thing you can do is only work in one county because that makes it
Vince,
very
I
easy.
think it's time you need to run for governor and fix
Oh,
this.
yes. Oh, man. God, I would run faster than I've ever run in my life from that.
You're making me
Now-
scared because that's what I'm gonna have to start doing. Because I'll go to these cons and sell stuff.
I don't know. I don't know what about it is, Spence, to do sales tax with the coupons with the book would take me about 1 minute at the end of the month, every month. I mean, it was very simple. Now, yeah, I didn't have
But
to.
you only work in Wake County.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there was actually no facility on the back of the coupon where you put all to go to 100 different counties. There was one place here. This is state and this is county. That's it. Now it may be different, but I remember the last book I got, it was the same size coupon book. So I don't know if it may be a lot easier for you to do it on paper and finish up. That's it.
I'm not aware of the book. I've never seen it. I never.
Yeah, you can
knew it
ask him.
existed.
Yeah, you can ask him to send you the coupon instead of the online. They'd rather you do it online.
To make it
But-
more complicated, not only
So-
do they have the
But
state and county taxes, they also have transit taxes too that you have to add depending on the county.
well,
Meaning it's-
I don't know. None of that stuff is on the coupon book. So
Yeah.
maybe that's the difference. Maybe they decided, okay, we're not going to create something new here on paper, so let's just expand it online, and it makes it more complicated. So look, tell them to send you a book and take a look at it. It doesn't cost anything. But yeah, I agree. They took paper, put it online, and expanded on it. Anyway, this is like the old days when marketing people would create websites or create the what do you call them? The what do we need in a website? Because they didn't know how to create one. They would say, okay, we need it to be like this, and we need it to look like this, and all that. And really, what they look at is they look at the brochure, and that's almost back then. It was impossible to duplicate the brochure the way that it's printed online, and it always drove us crazy. But anyway, yesterday while I was working on the articles here, I came across something called TotalWebShield.com. I didn't have time to look into it too much, but there was a little bit of writing about it, and to say you need to go and do it and learn how to protect yourself and blah 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 blah. I went and looked at it real quick, and it looks like it's a antivirus, anti-malware kind of thing. But maybe it's not. But it's called TotalWebShield.com, and it's free. If anybody wants to look and analyze it better than me, please, guys, do it. All right.
It's a malware tool, and you can see it blocks. It'll say block third-party cookies, force encryptions.
Yeah, I
total
mean,
refresher blocks.
Use uBlock Origin instead, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I would not use whatever this is.
use
With a
what?
name like that, you know that there's something. With
Yeah,
a name like that, you know
uBlock
that there's-
Origin.
Say it again.
uBlock Origin.
You block
The
Origin.
letter
Yes.
U,
Okay.
because it's
Very-
micro, right?
Okay.
uBlock Origin is the only ad blocker I would recommend using. If you want something else, there's some others that I would say just use when it comes to blocking malware, right? Especially in web browser, use only open source, open community tools only, because then it's transparent. It doesn't track you in any other way. Uh, I I assure you 100% this is tracking you, right? I don't care what they say, it's tracking you.
Yeah,
The
I
moment they collect payment, it's this is fishy.
yeah.
Don't
Oh,
use it.
okay. All right.
I second uBlock Origin because I've been using it for years. When ad block, so there's a ad blocker called AdBlocker. When they got bought by some company, and companies could get around it or whatever, I said nope, and I switched to uBlock and never looked back.
I've used it too, and it's actually very easy to use.
Yeah, it's one and done. Just install it,
Yeah,
and
if you
then you
want to
never have to
open
think
up
about
a
it again.
site temporarily, it's easy to do. If you have an issue with breaking a page, you can turn it on, turn it back, turn it off, turn it back on again.
The
Um,
best benefit of it is if there's still some annoyance, visual annoyance on the website, all you do is right click, block the element, save it. It allows you to preview it before that, save it, and the next time you're gonna come there, that is gone, right? So it's a very very easy to use tool. It is one of the most lightweight solutions out there. It is based on community curated lists that are constantly
Nice.
updated.
Yeah, that's good.
So yeah,
All right. Okay. Um, over 290 MSI motherboards are reportedly affected by an insecure default UEFI secure boot setting that allows any operating system image to run regardless of whether it has a wrong or missing signature. Now, it sounds bad, but I mean, remember, somebody would have to have their hand on your machine to do it. This discovery comes from a Polish security researcher who claims that he did not receive a response despite his efforts to contact MSI and inform them about the issue. The issue, according to him, impacts many Intel and AMD based MSI motherboards that use a recent firmware version, affecting even brand new MSI motherboards models. Um, Nick always, or Nick Engel always asks me, where is that article comes from? And I go and I look at Slashdot, but really it's not theirs. I was never aware. This is really from Reddit.
which
Uh,
is also not from
well,
Reddit. Is
uh,
also not a source.
well, I mean, I was just amazed to see that after this was one of the last thing that I came across, and I went to look for it, and when it took me to Reddit to see it, I said, well, this is the other article, and this is another one, and that's another one. It's like somebody's going there and then posting it to Slashdot
Correct.
or
That's
something like
exactly
that.
what it is.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's it doesn't
right. But you
sound.
do have um, ACM org. I don't know who these are. So the way I deal with the articles you bring, I just go either on DuckDuckGo or on Google. You go to the news section and you put in the search
Yeah,
terms of what you're reading. That at least shows me who's reporting on it, because Reddit won't go there, Slashdot won't go there, right? It'll go to sources, to news sources.
but I don't
And
trust
yeah,
them.
it doesn't. What's that?
I don't trust them.
It's not that I trust. It's just about who's reporting. I get to
Yeah,
see who is
yeah,
reporting on it,
yeah.
right? Reddit isn't a source. It's just a place for people to discuss stuff they
To
collect,
vent, to
they see
vent.
online. So right. So it seems like acm.org is the only one who's actually reporting on this,
Hmm,
and I don't know who acm.org is.
interesting. All right.
Yeah. PC Magazine, actually. So they quoted PC Magazine.
And who's following the market? I mean, the
Stock
market.
market?
The
Yeah,
market for what?
Intel apparently had a blow to their value last week.
Everybody has.
As
'Cause our economy slides big time.
Yeah,
Intel
Google
saw about
sliced how many employees?
12,000?
Yeah. Yeah.
but the article here goes that Intel saw about 8 billion wiped off its market value on Friday after a dismal earning projection. That's phew.
Yeah. And I repeat, right? For those who do not understand what that means, it just meant they made a little bit more, a little bit money, a, a, a little less
A li-
money than they predicted they'll make. They still made a profit.
yeah.
Which, if you
It's,
think about how long it took them to make a profit, it's pretty amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I read on when Microsoft had a large firing, right? I think I think that the verbiage was uh, they instead of growth, so it's not they still made more than previous years, right? It's just the rate of growth has stagnated from the expected 8% to grow. They only grew 6% in profits or something
Oh,
like that, right? And it's like, and because of that, they laid off on their end thousands of employees.
yeah.
Now, it's like, doesn't anybody feel a problem? Doesn't anybody have a problem with that? Like
Big.
chain of events, the company is still doing well. It's
Well,
still doing more than it did before, but yeah, we should let some people go and lose their livelihood because we didn't make enough as much as we predicted. And
Yeah,
I
but it's
feel
Nothing
I have a
altruistic.
problem with it
what
personally.
Nothing
you have a problem.
altruistic in business.
You have a problem with what? The idea. So if I'm a shareholder in a company and they tell me they're going to make 10 and they make 8,
I have a
that's a huge.
problem that the shareholder is more important than the employee. Yeah, I
It
always have a
absolutely. If
problem with
without
that.
the shareholder, you don't have the employee.
Without the employee, you didn't have shareholders to start with. So it's like it's a
I
chicken
mean,
and the egg thing.
I don't think it's a chicken and an egg. I mean, it's the only reason you have an employee, the only reason you have health insurance, the only reason you have a job is because there's a shareholder backing.
I agree that it's messed up. But the thing that really sucks is that, and this is, I got caught up in this in my previous company, is that the company, they predicted they're gonna make 10% and then they spend like they're gonna make 10% before they make the 10%. And then when it comes back that they made only 8%, then they have to cut costs. And the easiest way to do it is to let go of people. And then their budget line goes back to being in the green or in the black or whatever it is. The problem is the company spends like they already have the money when really they don't.
what happened to we need to make that much money, so instead of laying people off, go after new business.
Yeah, but
Market
in the
yourself.
tech field, let's be perfectly clear about this. The last 3 years in the tech field, these companies ignored any sort of market trend. They were so flushed with fake money from the federal government that they hired tens of thousands of people.
Mm.
And now we're rapidly approaching economic downturn. We're in a recession. Now they have to lay them off. I mean, when we were in the middle of COVID-19, when people didn't know what the hell was going on, go look. You can go back and look at the tech sector and look at the salaries and the jobs that they were offering. It's because they were flushed with fake cash, so they hired as much as they could. That's the problem. That's why you're seeing the cutback. And you look at a number, and go, oh my God, 12,000 employees on Google. Yeah, that's a lot of people, but 10,000 of them were hired over the last 24 months. So I mean, it's really not that dramatic of a cut in terms of the company. It's poor planning, and it was just poor
It's
planning.
poor
That's all it was.
planning. Yeah, it's poor planning.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Poor.
I agree with Gal. It does have an impact on individual livelihoods, and that's a problem. But the biggest issue you have here is that when companies are encouraged to just spend indiscriminately and do whatever the hell they want, then this is the end result.
Yep.
Company doesn't care about their employee. They care about one thing, and that's the shareholders and money. That's all they care about. And it's their fiduciary responsibility to care about that. Literally, they're legally required to if they're a publicly traded company.
Yeah. There was an article about how Facebook now is laying people off, and
I think 11,000.
the author of the article, I guess that's his take on it. He said, "I guess they are laying off management," and they said
They're always
they
laying
are.
off
He
management.
said they're
Not a
tired of
problem.
managers managing managers who are managing managers who are managing managers who are managing managers who are managing people. I mean, you have so many layers. And again, what kind of running of a business is that to have so many layers
Uh,
of managers? If that's true, I don't know.
It's
They
it's
they made an entire
irresponsible.
television show about it. It was called The Office, and that was the whole point of the show is a bunch of middle management
Well,
and a bunch of Spence probably knows this well
Oh
working at
God,
IBM and some of these other places.
that's true.
you would see um, layers that would literally a manager managing a team of managers where they didn't do anything. They just said, okay, well, here's all your jobs. And they weren't there to help as a backstop for those managers. They were just there to report up the chain to say, we have all these people doing this. And they were masters at getting other people to do their work. And they thrived. And you go,
Amazing.
I have direct contact and relationships with these kind of people where I didn't even work for this organization and they somehow con you into doing work for them. It's amazing. It's the
Yeah.
nature of the beast. And they're not technical people. They're organizers. They're managers in that they coordinate, so to speak, and they get points for coordinating. And it's
They're professional BSers. That's what I call them.
to an extent. I mean, they have to know something, but at the same time, they get to the point where if anybody's familiar with Peter's principle, it's called, you rise to the level of your incompetence. You get promoted, you're doing something well, you finally get to the point where you're out of your realm, but you just stay there because you can't go any higher, but nobody wants to let you go. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Um, this is interesting. Apple is developing software that offers an easy way for users of its upcoming mixed reality headset to build their own augmented reality apps as part of an effort to drive mass adoption of the device by broadening the array of content for it. With the software tools, Apple hopes that even people who don't know computer code could tell the headset via the Siri voice assistant to build an AR app that could then be made available via Apple's App Store for others to download. The tool, for example, could allow users to build an app with virtual animals moving around the room and over or around real life objects without the need to design the animal from scratch, program its animation, and calculate its movement in a 3D space with obstacles. Katie,
So
what do you have
you'll
to say about that?
I
you
think
could
that's super amazing. And honestly, I'm all for that kind of stuff because that's what that's what Power Automate allows me to do. Not specifically make AR things, but it allows me to code without coding. Like they've done the hard stuff of making the functions and I just have to put them together and building blocks to make something. So if Apple's doing that for AR technology, that would be amazing.
it's the matrix inside the matrix.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed that over the years they're making things more accessible to like hobbyists and casual people that don't have to go to school to get a degree in computer science to use this stuff. And it's great because people like me that are creative and uh eh, coding and all that stuff is really intimidating. It's like the tech stuff is like overcomplicated. To you guys it might come natural, but to me it's like too much to keep track of. So if they could streamline that process the innovation that I think we're going to see over the years will just explode because you'll have access to this different demographic of people that think differently than what people are using it now.
Yeah.
This is part of a trend called no code, which are different solutions for uh, creating systems without any coding or with as little coding as possible. Uh, it's nice. The fact that Apple is entering the arena is interesting because when Apple enters the arena, they usually do not invent anything new. They find a way of organizing and presenting and making it more approachable, right? Because I mean, let's face it, they treat their customers as low entry, and they provide a specific way of doing things that is usually adopted in mass, right? So if there's something good about the article, is it's interesting in the term that this might get mass adoption, right? And create a new paradigm, and a lot of new tools will come out of it. So Apple will lead this, but there's going to be a lot of like-minded applications out there for everything else. My problem is Apple has yet to create very good development environment, right? Uh, it's like developing for Apple is not necessarily the best process there is compared to, let's say, using Microsoft tools.
That's true.
So I
100%.
I hope I hope they'll do it right, but the fact that they are announcing it in a big way, I don't know. Let's see where it goes. Um,
Yeah, I when I was
Interesting, not interesting enough, not yet at least.
well, I hope they make that process more streamlined because when I was learning Unity and I was deciding what platform I wanted to build my little test game on, I immediately cut Apple out and Apple apps because you literally had to jump through so many hoops just to just to get your app exposed. Like you have to get certified, then you have to have this, that, and other thing. I don't know. This process was like a couple years old, but whereas with Microsoft, you just plug and play and that's it. Like like there's no jumping through hoops to get to like get your stuff out there or whatever. So I was like, okay, Apple made it way too complicated. I'm sure their process is great to filter out spam and all that stuff, but as far as like just me, a hobbyist developer making something for fun, it was like this is too much.
I saw the writing on the wall with the Final Cut Pro um, attitude they had back. This is years ago with the high-end Macs, where they were not supporting Final Cut Pro anymore. That was the platform for it, and they just abandoned. I don't know what the status of it is now, but people who did that kind of editing were forced to move over to Microsoft platforms or Linux-based platforms because of their attitude about having the right tools in place.
Was that the same time that they stopped supporting QuickTime?
It could be. It's more than 10 years ago
Yeah,
when it
because
happened.
QuickTime as a video editor was like the perfect for my use was great. I always use QuickTime to look at my videos and stuff like that. It also was the only software at the time that I knew how to use to make alpha adjustments, like some adjustments. And then they stopped supporting it, and then I had to get obviously had to fade it out because of security reasons. But I was so bummed. I was like, why aren't you supporting this? This is like perfect and amazing. And
It gives their users too much independence.
I guess.
Uh,
'Cause,
I'm on their page now, and apparently it's better than it was. You can go to Apple Final Cut Pro and see. But
Yeah.
the problem they had was they came out with a new series of high-end Macs that for a while didn't support it, and people were stuck using older platforms. They were kind of out in the weeds when it came to developing the high-end Macs. they came out with this cube thing that would overheat, and it was just crazy. Some people swear by the old Tower um, Mac MacBook, Mac Pros, not MacBook Pros, but I think you can do it all on a MacBook now. But back then, you had to have these gigantic water cooled or air cooled towers.
And
Especially,
there lies the key issue is that I'm a Microsoft user on a PC and I want to use Apple products, but I can't unless I have a Mac. Or it's harder to use it, I guess. Oh well.
they're
All
not even
right.
showing. They're not even showing the tower. I don't even think they make the towers anymore. Everything is all MacBook
Nicholas,
based.
are we ready?
Jonathan.
Are we ready for specials?
Sure.
All right. And I want to say one thing here. Last week, you were talking about that image class printer, the Canon,
Mhm.
and you were saying that it doesn't have fax. And I said, nah, you're wrong. Well, Nick, you were right.
I mean, it's part of
I
my job, literally, to be right.
I
So.
looked it up, and it's the 400 series that does the fax.
Yeah.
It's still about the same price, but yeah. So you were right.
Well, what can I say?
Yeah.
All right. Well, take a look at this product. Spence, this is right up your alley. This is a 66 outlet extension.
This can't be real.
66 outlet extension strip available over at Amazon. It's got just a 7-inch cord to plug it into the wall, 66 outlets, 900 watts at 4 amps with 14 USB plugs. Perfect
mean,
for
it
if you
can.
read the thing, it's a power outlet for home, office, dorm, game room, or fire.
I
Because
mean,
that is exactly
It still
what this is
cannot
for.
support more than 15 amps because it goes to an outlet.
It's not. I mean, this is
Jeez.
exactly if you're thinking, man, I've got too many power strips. Just buy one of these, and all your problems are solved.
Yeah, just think about you need to hire a professional cord organizer for you.
Somebody
So,
somebody at that company just decided they're going to do something kind of like for fun.
no, it's a
It's
fake. It's a fake.
Oh,
It's super. It's the company is Super Danny. It says Super Dana, but it's actually
Yeah.
DANNY on
Yeah.
Amazon. So this
Uh-huh.
is a parody of them.
Yes.
So
And
yeah,
you can
but
tell
they
yeah,
make
based
good
on the
stuff.
Yeah.
Check out Super Danny on Amazon. They make all kinds of great, versatile power blocks and USB chargers and things.
I saw that come across my feed this week on Twitter, and I thought that,
I
well, this
love
is
it.
too good not to save to put in specials. So don't buy stupid bullshit like this. All right, let's move on to specials. We're at a weird time of year right now. There ain't diddly squat on sale. There's not a single computer deal that I could find this week that was halfway decent. So a little bit kind of an eclectic mix of things. Hopefully we'll get back to some semblance of normal here in the coming months. Let's start it off at Best Buy, where that you can find a TCL 58-inch 4K UHD Roku Smart TV. This is normally $380, and you can get it on sale for just $289. Because it's got the Roku TV built into it. It's got an Ethernet jack on it, so you can hardwire it. It also has 4 HDMI ports. Still has coax, so you could hook up an external antenna to it. Plus, it's also got AV through a breakout cable with a headphone jack and optical audio as well. So a decent amount of ports for a sub $300 TV with the Roku built in.
It's amazing. It's almost cheaper than buying a service contract on a television.
You can check that out over at Best Buy for $289. When you buy this TV, how about this thing? And this is a little bit weird. This company, Govee, makes a lot of really cool things. This is their Dream View. And the way that this thing works is it's an LED light strip, like one of the ones that come in the little like film looking reel where it's like it looks like a 8mm film reel with the LED tape. However, this comes with a camera. You might think, a camera for what? You put a camera on the top of your television, it angles down, and it looks at the screen and changes the color of the LEDs that you put on the back of your television to match the color profile on the screen. It's a cool concept.
Wow.
In practicality, I'm not sure how amazing it works. But it will if you look through the pictures on Amazon, it will change the addressable lights based on what the camera is seeing on the screen. This is normally an $80 device, and it's on sale through Best Buy at eBay. So it's being sold by Best Buy, but on eBay for $55. Govee makes a whole bunch of really cool RGB and lighting accessories. So their stuff is very good quality. I don't know how practical something like this is for most people. But if you're all in on the LED and RGB craze, then check it out on sale over there. With your new television, not the TCL because it does have a lot of ports, but a lot of newer TVs, even some of the more high end. And it seems like, oh, we're seeing a switch. It used to be the low end TVs had like no ports on them. Now it's the high end TVs. You'll spend like $2,800 on a television and it has one HDMI port. The low end ones are packed out. But if you're looking for some expansion on a TV, maybe you have an older TV that only has one or two HDMI ports, Ugreen has their 5-in-1 switch. So you can plug up to 5 HDMI devices into this. You get one output, and it'll actually do 4K, which is cool. It is limited to 60 hertz. So if you're trying to do fast refresh rate gaming or something of that nature, you're going to want to bypass this device and go straight to your television. But for anything else, this is a perfect device. It's HDCP 2.2 compliant. It'll work with pretty much any modern or recent device. You could even put this in your office and hook up multiple computers. So you could kind of use it as like a mini KVM without the keyboard and mouse. It's normally $42. You can get it for just $26 over at Amazon. Next up, with your brand new television, it's time for a brand new soundbar. I had something similar to this last week. I had the Hisense S202 is what we had last week, and that was their soundbar. This is the HS214 because this one is a 2.1 instead of a 2.0. Last week's speaker was just two stereo speakers, one left, one right. This is a left, a right, and a sub, 108 watts, all in one compact design. It's got an HDMI input for ARC audio. It's connect via Bluetooth or via a USB stick if you want to plug in and have a list of music on there. Check it out for, let's see, $69 available over at Walmart. Pretty good price on a soundbar that's normally MSRP $150. So a couple of TV and TV-related accessories.
Quick question about stuff
How
like that.
popular is HDMI ARC?
Very. At any modern TV will support it. For example, if you look at the TCL Spence at one of the pictures, you'll notice port 4 is, well, you won't see it on there.
And the
Port
question
4
I
is
have
black.
How you need, how would you, if you have an HDMI feed coming into this, do you have an HDMI splitter so that you can go to the audio, to the video and to the, or does, how do you hook it up? Because if this is just delivering audio,
To the
there's
ARC.
like this isn't an HDMI pass-through device, so you go to the television that strips out the audio.
Wait a second, Nick. Is this HDMI also, or I don't see it, or is it just Bluetooth?
Hold on. What we're talking about two different. Which device are we talking about?
It says one cable HDMI ARC.
Yes, for the speaker. So what it allows you to do is plug in the speaker to the television via, if your TV supports ARC audio, it allows you to it allows you to do that audio through ARC instead of through optical or something else.
So it's
I think I'm correct on that.
Output port on the television that goes to the soundbar.
It could be used as an input or an output. Correct.
Okay, got it.
And my question is, can you put a Bluetooth dongle on a TV on the USB and use something like this as the speaker?
Well,
Probably
yes,
not.
yes. If you have
let's not get into
stereo
the detail.
3.5 millimeter jack,
Yeah.
Yes.
then you can put in there are low latency transmitters. Bluetooth transmitter that you can hook up.
If you have 3.5, that's easy. But I mean, we have a TV that has 3.5.
Via
but
USB
it-
now.
Okay.
You,
All
Yeah,
right.
USB now.
Keep going, Nick.
you can also buy an optical that does the same thing. Optical out of the TV that goes into a
Yeah.
Bluetooth.
any new TV, I don't care how it doesn't matter if it's the cheapest bargain bin or an expensive one, it will have either a 3.5 millimeter analog jack or optical via something, either Toslink or something else. That's any TV is going to have that. The cheapest of the cheap will have that.
Amnon, I have one. I'll send you a link to it. Very works very good with a set of Bluetooth earbuds.
All right, keep going, Nick.
Speaking of Bluetooth, oh, never mind. Speaking of earbuds, well, no. Speaking of headphones, all right, let's try. Third time's the charm. I didn't realize Sennheiser, who makes a lot of audio equipment, they make high-end microphones, high-end headsets. I used Sennheiser headphones for years. I didn't realize that they had a gaming line, and their gaming line is very expensive. Yeah, this is the Sennheiser EPOS GSP 500 gaming headphones. The MSRP on this thing is $200. Now, Sennheiser makes really, really expensive headphones, so maybe that's not the craziest thing in the world, but it does seem like a lot for a gaming headset. However, taking a look at the pictures at this thing, this is a very well-built, very not over-engineered, but a well-engineered headset. The pads on both the top and the ear pads look very comfortable. It's got 3.5 millimeter audio, so you can connect it to literally any device that has an audio jack, from a computer to a Nintendo Switch. It does have it does have noise canceling built into the microphone. It doesn't have noise canceling for the headphones because they're not powered. But it's got some cool features on it, and it's on sale over at Woot for $60. And I wouldn't be, you're not going to be disappointed with a pair of Sennheiser headphones. Their stuff is just absolutely phenomenal. Check that out. Next up, I know Spence has got a bunch of Wyze products, WYZE, and they've got a sale on their outdoor plug. I don't know if you have one of these, Spence, but they're outdoor plugs, which they replace the old school either light timers or the ones with the dial on it that you would turn to, have your Christmas lights come on for a couple of hours at night. Really, really affordable. Though a single Wyze outdoor plug, which has two separately addressable 120-volt outlets, is just $12, available over on their website. You can pick up a 2-pack, so get 2 of them for $24. That's available from Wyze directly. They make a lot of really great products, and if you're in their ecosystem, pretty good device to get connected.
I have one in service under my house that turns on and off a dehumidifier and a fan to circulate air in my crawl space.
Now, let me ask you this: when it does that, did you set a schedule on the app for it to do that?
Gotcha. I actually use Alexa to do it. The schedule.
Oh, okay, perfect. So yeah, check that out if you're looking for it. Wyze is a pretty good. I know we talk a lot about Home Assistant, Z-Wave, and Zigbee, but if that's too much for you, Wyze is a pretty good brand to jump in.
On the low tech side of Wyze, at Walmart, they have their stick cordless vacuum on sale for $119. There's 2 versions of it. There's the S and the regular version, and it's normally $159 at Walmart. Go in and buy it in the box at the store. $119, and it's we got one, and it works great. It's like a knockoff for the Dyson.
Yeah, they make a lot. Wyze makes a lot of really cool stuff. It's all cheap Chinese stuff, but they got good support and seemingly really good software, which makes a huge deal when you're dealing with smart devices.
I just added their new generation camera. That's only $19.
There you go.
It has a built-in spotlight, better audio, 2-way audio, and a bunch of other features. Night vision, $19 a camera.
It's hard to beat. I thought this next product was pretty cool. If you're somebody that's got an iPad Pro, which for all intents and purposes, many folks are using as their computer. It will do literally anything you need. Maybe you need a little bit of expandability. So Best Buy's got this device on clearance. It's made by Hyperdrive. They've been around for years. They originally were making high-end USB sticks back in the early 2000s. They make memory and stuff like that now. So it's a USB-C on one side, and then on the other side of this device, and it plugs into your iPad. You get a 3.5 millimeter combo jack for audio. You get a pass-through USB-C so that you can charge the device. A USB-A so you could plug in a flash drive or something, which the iPad supports, and a full-size HDMI port. So you could use this as a mirror this. A lot of folks mirror wirelessly, but if that's not an option, plug it right into a TV and connect even a keyboard or mouse to it as well. the iPad Pro is a really neat looking device. This is a 60, it's normally $60. It's on clearance at Best Buy for 27.99. This next product is for our friend Amnon. He's always talking about trickle chargers and things like this. So I found this for you, Amnon. This is the Foval Automatic Trickle Battery Charger. It's a 12-volt smart charger, so it will sense what's going on. It's not going to overcharge the battery and damage it. It does have some um, logic in it, how it handles its charging. It's got things like over temperature protection, over load protection, low voltage and high voltage protection. It's normally this is normally $20. It's not the most amazing sale in the world, but it's on sale for $17. So save a few bucks on that.
Okay.
Available over at Amazon. It is Amazon's choice in battery chargers. It does have it has nearly 11,000 reviews on Amazon with an average of 4.6 stars. So a lot of people are using obviously something like this. Three final products here. If you've got an older vehicle, but you're not ready to get rid of it, but you're frustrated with your single or dual DIN radio that doesn't have any of the smart functionality, doesn't have USB, and you're looking to upgrade that to the 21st century. Here is a really, really good deal on a device. It's, I believe the company's Atoto is how it's is pronounced, and this is their A6PF dual DIN car stereo. Now it's running Android. However, it supports both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So if you have an iPhone or an Android phone, you can connect it and get all of the features of that wirelessly. So it's not one of the ones where you need to even have it plugged in. So it supports both of those, but also the fact that it is an Android device means that you can have apps installed on this thing itself. So Spotify and Pandora and all of that stuff. It will get podcast app can be installed directly on the device if you're not using the CarPlay or the Android Auto side of it. It supports backup cameras. It's got Bluetooth, USB, and Wi-Fi. Everything built into it. Seemingly a really cool radio. It's normally $200. It's on sale for $160. So save $40 on that. Available over at Amazon. Same thing with this. Another Amazon Choice product. Nearly 700 reviews for 4.4 stars on that. Two final products here. I thought this was kind of neat. Katie, maybe you should check this out if you have a couple of extra Switch controllers and games hanging around. This is like a full charging dock system. So you dock this Nintendo Switch in the main portion of it, and then you can charge a couple of controllers. It's got some little pegs so that you can put your games in there as well. This doesn't replace the charger. It still uses the base charger, but you get some additional functionality with it, which is kind of cool. So you can check this out. Available over at Amazon. It's normally $23. It's on sale for just $12. So pretty hard to beat with that. Available over at Amazon. And then finally, I put this in yellow because I wanted to have a discussion with it. This is a Seagate X16 12 terabyte hard drive for $105.
Is this one of the scams?
No, it's not a scam. And here is where the discussion comes in. This is a manufacturer recertified hard drive from a company called serverpartdeals.com. So I guess I wanted to discuss in certain use cases, I've never purchased a refurbished, recertified, remanufactured hard drive. I'm not sure most people have. But as I was thinking about it, specifically, Gal, in a specific use case where the data that you have is maybe Blu-ray and movie rips that aren't mission critical, that God forbid you could rip again. Yeah, it might be a pain in the ass, but you could do it. You're not going to like lose out on your family heirlooms. I don't know that you can beat this for $100, 12 terabytes worth of storage. Pair this with some sort of online backup service for a couple of bucks a month to back up some of this data. And again, if I wouldn't put this in your computer for your main desktop, but for a storage device, even for a backup drive, I mean, it's pretty hard to beat for $105. So
It's part of a RAID array,
Yeah.
a mirroring or a RAID array. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
What
it's weird to recommend it because again, it's a manufactured, it's a manufacturer recertified hard
I
drive.
should I should scorn you, right? A friend of ours is listening to the show, and I know that he is right now trying to buy these.
Well, there's 200 of them available according to the website, so he's got plenty. But I think of an Amnon. You can cut back to the video if you want. I think in a use case, and I go to Plex because that's what a lot of people are running. Your Plex media is not mission critical. It's just not. If you're ripping the content from physical media, it can be ripped again. If you're borrowing the content from online, it can be borrowed again.
Right.
It's not. I don't know that many people are backing up their Plex libraries. I'm sure a bunch of people are. I don't. I don't see the need to. So to me, this might be. I might pick one of these up. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet.
So
It's got a
here's the
two-year
thing:
warrant,
if you
two-year
are
warranty.
picking these
it
up,
does.
if
Sorry,
you're
yes.
picking these up, don't pick one.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
just
buy
going to
two
say.
or three.
Yeah.
Even if you're planning on using only two, if you're planning on using only two, buy three. Okay, so you have a fallback when one drive dies, and you are still right. You are still not out the amount you would have bought these 12 terabytes from a brand new brand name, right?
Right.
So, yeah, as long as this is going to survive more than for each of the drives more than a year, right? You already made your profit.
But
So
here's the question though. Will it let me open and resave my Excel file?
I wouldn't use it as a sole drive just because it has history. But as part of an array, right, on a server, I would definitely make use of it and buy one extra, right? So yes, you're still gonna shell out more than $300 right now, right? But those $300 are gonna give you a lot more for the terabyte and a lot
Plus
more for
insurance.
time as long as it survives more than a year per drive. So
And it probably
Yeah,
will.
I thought it was I saw it on Slick Deals. I thought it was interesting, and it really what it comes down to is your risk tolerance.
exactly.
Can you afford to lose that data if there is a situation there? Uh, some people are more risk averse than others. Some people don't want the risk at all. If you don't want the risk, don't buy a remanufactured hard drive. And let's be clear with these. This is not the situation where some guy's drive died and then they sent it back. This is a server that was more than this drive came from a server that was in service. It got sold. It made its way to the server parts company. They ran it through hard drive testing suites, probably SpinRite and all that other stuff. It passed smart and everything else. Doesn't have any bit errors on it. Now they're just reselling. I mean, think of it the equivalent to, open box. Somebody opens a product, doesn't ever take it out of the box and returns it. That's more probably of what this is than anything else.
Yeah.
These aren't, I can't imagine these are heavily used, on for
No, I mean-
thousands of hours drives. I don't think so.
When were 12 terabyte drives available?
They've been available for a while. They're expensive though.
If
And
I-
you're
what-
only finding them in enterprise because nobody
Right.
in their right
But
mind
how
is gonna
long
spend
do you think they
$400.
were? How long do you think it's been since the 12
Years.
terabyte? How many years? Not 10
At
years.
least,
Well,
no,
I mean,
5, at least 5.
Yeah, that's nothing. I mean, I used to buy drives for the servers that were over 10 years old,
Mhm.
SAS drive, and none of them ever failed. It's if a drive is going to fail, it's going to fail, and the fact that they've been running for some time on another server and lasted is a good thing. And if
Yeah,
you
this
like,
is a NAS. This was designed as a NAS drive, so it's not a
well, you need to use it as
Yeah.
as a RAID, as a NAS.
yeah. But I mean, if it was designed to be running all the time. And
Yeah.
it was a high end drive.
And like Gal said, if you buy two to use, you buy three, and you use two of them as one drive, you're not gonna lose your data. a drive may fail, and you stick the third one in there, and it's gonna just back up each other, and everything is fine. So yeah, that's a very good deal, Nick.
So you would set this up mirroring,
Yeah,
At
yeah,
least, yeah.
not
graded.
striping or anything like that. Yeah.
I, look, if you're using two, use mirroring.
Yeah.
If you
Hmm,
striping
Yeah.
creates
a 24.
right now I'm running a striped setup and a mirrored setup. Okay. And I can tell you with striping, you usually you lose for the additional space that you got, you lose performance. You get
Yes.
slowdowns because there's a complexity involved here. So if you can do with mirroring, go with mirroring, right? It's much better. And hell, you're saving a lot here, let's say with these drives, right? You're saving a lot, right? Then just buy and do two mirrors, right? Instead. I think you'll be better off.
Yep. Yep. All right.
You hook this up to a machine running TrueNAS Scale, which is right now hands down the OS I would recommend to run a server on. And so this paired with some sort of SSD running the OS can be as large as, doesn't need to be more than 32, maybe 64 gigabytes, right? So you have the OS running on a small drive, and you have the rest, all of the data and the apps running from a mirrored two drives of 12 terabytes, right? You have a beast of a server, which has very safe storage on it. And not only that, it has, if you can build another server like this somewhere else, you also have remote replication built into the OS that you can just enable. And you got a home lab, which is very easy to manage and very effective,
What's the
and
name?
sounds like not too expensive.
What's the name of the
TrueNAS
OS
Scale.
again?
It used to be FreeNAS. So TrueNAS Scale is the Linux-based OS.
NAS scale. Okay. I've been playing around with having these shared drives based on the USB ports on routers. And it works okay. I use it for local backup, but I'd like to build something more robust.
Yep.
I'm willing
That'll
now to
do it.
have a server running all the time.
Yep. All right. Um, any of you orders groceries through Amazon?
I did it once.
Starting February 28th, Amazon is jacking up the threshold for free fresh delivery from $35 to $150. For orders under that, service fees will defer.
Makes sense.
So yeah, but that's a big jump. Huge jump.
Look,
Like,
the fact that it was 35 was amazing, right?
uh,
Was like out of the world. These are there people
yeah,
are running around with your groceries,
yeah,
delivering them to your door in less than a couple of hours because it needs to be all area based, right?
yeah.
I understand. Come on, it makes total sense.
Oh, well, add to that is most grocery stores nowadays actually have an online or delivery system or whatever. Well, I
Yeah,
don't.
they use Instacart.
Yeah, yeah. Or two, if you want somebody to go grocery shopping for you, and then you could go and just pick it up. I think it's like a $5 extra charge where somebody in the grocery store, like the grocery store itself, will grab all your stuff and put it in one of those fridges that are outside, or not outside, but like in the entryway or whatever. And you can just go and pick it up if you didn't
Uh,
want to go grocery shopping, but you didn't want to pay the outrageous like delivery fee.
No.
But I've never
Okay.
used it.
All right. Those of you that have older Apple hardware, Apple has provided iOS 12.5.7, Mac OS 11.73, and other updates for older devices that can't be updated to the latest release. The new updates are for users still using older devices and operating system and address similar bugs and security patches available in the recent iOS 16.3 and macOS Ventura release. The security patch notes list at least 14 different systems affected by security issues that have been patched. The new update versions are iOS 12.5.7, iOS 15.7.3, iPadOS 15.7.3, macOS Big Sur 11.7.3, and macOS Monterey 12.6.3. So apparently, they provided updates for devices that couldn't be further updated. That's the way I understand it. And that's pretty nice.
Need
Yeah,
to
that's
fire up my old Mac. I haven't run it in a while. I have El Capitan on it.
yeah, that's good for people that I think it's so stupid that we spend all this money on these machines or these iPhones or whatever, this tech, and then
Mhm.
after 2 years, it's all of a sudden you can't use it
Yeah.
anymore because it's died or whatever, and it's just so stupid.
I I have the original Mac unibody. The very first. It's not. But it wasn't called a Pro when it came out. But it's the unibody aluminum machined all in one piece laptop. And I used it for a long time, and then it got slower and slower and slower. And it only could take 4 gig memory. And then I found out there was a company that would actually make it work with 8 gig. You could buy the memory from other people, but they said it'll work. We promise you it'll work. We checked it out with Apple. We checked the BIOS because Apple didn't want to update the BIOS, and I have 8 on it now. And I also put in an SSD, and it works like it was new. I just don't use the Mac anymore. So
No. The weird thing is, when Hannah was going into that technology of making the insulin pump and the Dexcom talk to each other and all that, there was the app that makes them talk to each other. You have to compile on an Apple, on a Mac. She has an older MacBook Air. I'm not sure it's a Power PC, but it may be.
I think the
And
Airs were all Intel.
oh, okay. So
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
anyway,
Pretty sure.
it wouldn't run, or it would run, but it'll take 6-7 hours to compile. And she couldn't, and they said that, yeah, you have to have something with newer operating system. And there was just no way to do it. But she found something that upgrades the video or anyway, something that will make it usable. So if somebody wrote something like this, I said, and I don't understand why Apple doesn't do this. How many of these are out there? And if they're good, why not use it? There was another
You
article.
just said it. You
that-
just said it. How many are
Yeah.
there out there? They don't make any money on these.
So
Why
fine.
would they put an effort into it?
I don't know. But there was another article that I was reading. I didn't save it, about Apple Mac, or some Macs that are out there scrapped because of the security chip. You can't reset the username, password, or whatever. You can't get to them. So some uh, some recycler bought all of the keys. They have a key built in, and destroyed them for metals. And these are perfectly good 2-year-old, 3-year-old computers that couldn't use them anymore because Apple doesn't make it so you can recover them. It doesn't make sense. Anyway,
You can install Linux on them probably.
man, maybe I guess. Um, Chat GPT.
Uh-oh.
New research conducted by a professor at University of Pennsylvania Wharton School found that the artificial intelligence-driven chatbot GPT-3 was able to pass the final exam for the school's Master of Business Administration program. The professor authored the
So
research paper.
can we replace all the managers?
I saw that ChatGPT was hired at a bunch of companies because they used ChatGPT to apply to a bunch of job postings or whatever, and they got and the bot got interviews and stuff.
Well, it says that he said in the paper, the paper was titled, Would ChatGPT Get a Wharton MBA? A prediction based on its performance in the operations management course. And he said that the bot scored between a B minus and B on the exam.
Wow. What was the exam again?
It, for MBA.
Oh, an MBA.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not as impressive. I
Well,
mean, not because it's not an MBA, but because it was a test, right?
Yeah.
So theoretically, all of the answers are online.
Well,
So unless the questions, well, I don't know what the questions are like. So if the questions are more like essay responses, then that would be more impressive. It was if it's just multiple choice, then
I don't
it's
know. I would expect that he got an A, but no, B minus and B. And there was
yeah.
another article that said that he did not pass the law exam.
Oh, see that now that would have been impressive
Yeah.
because I recently somebody on I saw a video on TikTok where somebody was reviewing the law bar question or whatever, like the exam they were doing a
Uh-huh.
question, and it was like a big paragraph of a situation, and then they had the multiple things. Well, this person that could do this person could do that, and my head was all confused. I was like, this is too much. I'm obviously not going to become a lawyer,
Yeah.
but maybe ChatGPT can.
Well, and on the same, Stanford students and professors are grappling with the rise of ChatGPT and the technology's implications for education. Some professors have already overhauled their courses in anticipation of how students might use the chatbot to complete assignments and exams. And according to an informal poll conducted by the Daily, a large number of students have already used ChatGPT on their final exam. Whether the new technology will necessitate a revision of the honor code, the university standards for academic integrity, remains to be seen. A university spokesperson confirmed that the Board of Judicial Affairs is aware of and monitoring these emerging tools. Students are expected to complete coursework without unpermitted aid, wrote spokesperson D. Mostov. In most courses, unpermitted aid include AI tools like ChatGPT.
Okay, here's my question though.
Uh,
How do they know if the kids are using ChatGPT?
Oh, there are
Yeah,
different ways of figuring it out. Now there are a lot of utilities out there that can do it. I don't know, but I mean, the main thing is the students that was very very average suddenly gets A's. You know
yeah.
that hey,
You know what's funny? This is like that situation where like robots are gonna be competing with each other
uh
because
huh,
see, so ChatGPT like set the baseline and then they probably wrote software that also uses AI to detect the AI and then now the AI has to fight and go over the AI and it's just gonna keep one upping each other until
well,
eventually we have like robot overlords.
uh, all right.
Like recently, there was a story about a charter school at a university that decided that they were going to give all the kids in the charter school an A because it wasn't fair that some of them had to work harder than others. Very
Well,
interesting. it's good to see that
Uh,
the business school has actually said, We're not gonna permit these tools to help people because
they
we need to know
they
how to
will
do it."
have they will have to give in sooner or later because it's becoming part of life. So
Yeah, well,
talking about Canada and cold weather, Katie, Home Depot's Canadian arm was found to be sharing details from e-receipts related to in-store purchases with Facebook owner Meta platform without the knowledge of or consent of its customers. According to Canada privacy regulator, an investigation by the Office of the Privacy Commissioner of Canada, the OPC, found that by participating in Meta's offline conversions program, Home Depot shared the e receipts that included encoded email addresses and purchase information. The regulator added that the home goods chain stopped sharing customer information with Meta in October of last year, which was among the recommendations made by the office, until the company is able to implement measures to ensure valid consent. So they
Was
were
this
just,
only in Canada or was it in the US too?
no, Canada.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it I wonder if they were doing it in the US and nobody paid attention or are there laws in the US that stop them from doing this? I don't know.
I don't know either. And talking about censorship, when Safari users in Hong Kong recently tried to load the popular code sharing website GitLab, they received a strange warning instead. Apple's browser was blocking the site for their own safety. The process was temporarily cut off thanks to Apple's use of a Chinese corporate website blacklist, which resulted in the innocuous site being flagged as a purveyor of misinformation. Neither Tencent, the massive Chinese firm behind the web filter, nor Apple will say how or why the site was censored. The outage was publicized just ahead of the new year, and on December 30th, 2022, Hong Kong based software engineer and former Apple employee Chu Ka Chong tweeted that his web browser had blocked access to GitLab. I mean, things like that can happen, but it's amazing. GitLab, purveyor of misinformation, and it was added by,
They just said safety.
well, it was in a list. Yeah, safety. It was on a list that was compiled or made by China and
Oh, hold
Apple.
on. A corporate Chinese, right?
Um,
So some corporation didn't want their employees going to open source material and added it to that list.
yeah,
We do not know how that list is curated. We
that's
have
correct.
zero.
You're right.
It can happen. Remember we talked about
Yeah,
uBlock Origin?
yeah,
uBlock Origin has literally tons of sources it can pull from,
right.
right? It's like thousands of different lists that you can pull from. And those lists are curated by either private people or communities, right? Open communities, or maybe even corporates, right? That share their lists externally. This is just in this case Apple baking into their browser some support of such lists and pulling in China from a list that did bad.
Yeah.
How this becomes news beats the crap out of me. That's
Well,
what's troubling more than and most than anything, right? I understand somebody tweeted about it, like it should have seen, even if the guy has 10,000 views, right? And one of those viewers is a journalist, it's like, okay, it was a slow news day that day.
it
That's how
was.
it feels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's interesting. All right. You use LogMeIn?
Nah, not in
No.
ages. Used it in
So
probably
apparently now they're
15 years
called
ago.
GoTo. It says GoTo,
Okay.
formerly Log Me In, is warning customers that threat actors who breached its development environment in November 2022 stole encrypted backups containing customer information and an encryption key for a portion of that data. That's kind of bad.
That's very bad.
A lot of people use LogMeIn to log into their office machine, home machine from the
Well,
office.
I think
Yeah,
all of their free offerings were gone, so it's all paying customers.
yeah, and that's even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Um, the FBI revealed last week that it had shut down the prolific ransomware gang called Hive, a maneuver that allowed the Bureau to thwart the group from collecting more than 130 million in ransomware demands from more than 300 victims. This is coming from Reuters. Uh, at a news conference, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, FBI Director Christopher Wray, and Deputy U.S. Attorney General Lisa Monaco said government hackers, that's that, I mean, that's interesting. Government hackers broke into Hive's network and put the gang under surveillance, surreptitious, surreptitiously stealing the digital key the group used to unlock victim organization data. They were then able to alert victims in advance so they could take steps to protect their systems before Hive demanded the payment. Now that's interesting. Using lawful means, we hacked the hackers. With
I think it's funny that the bad guys were called Hive because in the Marvel show,
uh,
Shield, the bad guys were called Hive.
well,
So as soon as
No,
you said
Hydra.
no, no, yeah, that their Hydra is the bad guy, but there was a bad guy for a season where it was like the Hive Mind or whatever, and so it was the Hive was bad, and so it's funny. As soon as you said Hive, I was like, they're the bad guys.
yeah, but that's good. I mean, at least it was done with some planning ahead. That's great. Sit there, monitor, capture the keys, tell
I
the
want to know
victims.
how old those government hackers are because I bet you it's like a the because
High,
I've heard
high,
it I've
high
heard
school kids, high school
well
kids.
yeah yeah I heard of those stories years ago where like a 16 or a 15-year-old would break into like a government thing and instead of the arresting the kid they would like hire him or whatever. So I was like, wonder if this is the same situation where those kids are like now in their 20s and there's like a division where they go out and they hack and infiltrate uh bad guys.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who it is. It's if they do a good job, hey, do it. You have to fight fire with fire, fire with fire.
Mm.
And British cybersecurity officials are warning that hacking groups linked to Russia and Iran are duping people into clicking malicious links by impersonating journalists and experts.
Mm.
The hackers, who have similar goals but are said to be working separately, have sought to steal emails from people working in academia, defense, the media, and government, as well as from activists and non governmental organizations, according to an advisory released on last Thursday by the UK's National Cybersecurity Center. These campaigns by threat actors based in Russia and Iran continues to ruthlessly pursue their targets in an attempt to steal online credentials and compromise potentially sensitive systems, We strongly encourage organization individuals to remain vigilant to potential approaches and follow the mitigation advice in the advisory to protect themselves online. And in my opinion, it has to be education comes first. Educate them. Educate your uh, employees. You cannot have software that will stop everything. People have to know that this is a serious threat and they have to know when to ignore the emails that ask you to do this so that, or phone calls. Today it's a mixed batch. They call, they ask questions. I don't understand how people will give somebody that they don't know their password. I don't care if I get a phone call and it says, "Hey, this is the IT department. This is John from the IT department. I need your password because you have a problem on your machine." No, you already have it. You should have a way to get into it. Or if you don't, come here and get it.
We were talking last week about companies and websites forcing their users to do two-factor
Yeah.
Yeah, and people were kind of up in arms about it. But I just got an email from one of a website I use that has a username, and they said they're forcing all their users to do two-factor. I'm already on two-factor, so
Mhm.
yeah, I'm like that's fine. But the email read as if they were apologizing for making it uh
Everybody
harder.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and they're like, "Well," and the email said, "Well, we had some give back about this, and a lot of people didn't wanna do it, but we thought it was the best decision to keep our users safe, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Who's giving get like, who's fighting this?" Like, I don't understand. Like, it just
A lot of people, they just want to be able to click on in.
Nobody's fighting this. There's a lot of people who are complaining, and nobody's explaining to them the reason. It's not fighting. People complain all the time. Even when they do something, they complain that, I don't know, that the car runs out of gas. They complain that they get hungry at noon. Okay? People complain. We should not treat this as people fighting. People are idiots. We are. I am an idiot. We are all idiots and will complain because we do not
Well,
understand. Right?
the bottom line is people are not happy. Let's say people are not happy with it.
Yeah,
So,
fuck
okay,
happy.
now, Gal, we talked about this before. Talk again about we sort of like
I'm
from
not
what I
talking just
remember.
about security. I'm talking in general.
No, no, no,
Right?
no. Yeah, but forget about general now. Talk about. It seems like I remember we lifted that two factor is not always really safe.
First of all, it doesn't matter which two-factor you're going with. It is probably safer than just a password. But
Right.
two-factor alone, right, without understanding why you are using two-factor and what is the problems with two-factor and understanding what is the problem with password, right, you're screwed, right? You're going to get, people are going to fail that as well because they're going to get a phone call from somebody who says, "Hey, I'm from this and this company and I sent you an identification code. Could you just read it out to me?" Right? That's easy.
Mm-hmm.
That's very easy social hacking.
Yeah.
But if you understand two-factor authentication, you understand no person will ever ask you this number, ever, right? And no company will ever start doing.
Gal, something happened to your. Oops. Did you? He completely froze now. Well, I was going to say something happened to your audio,
Froze up.
but yeah, I mean, uh, yeah, somebody says something, so we'll switch. Yeah,
something.
hello. Um, it's yeah, two factor, multi factor. It's better than none, but you still have to use your common sense and you have to be educated and realize that this is a serious threat and you can cause your company to really lose a lot and you may lose your job as a result because if the company is losing money, they may lay you off.
Mm.
I mean, think about all these things
If
that
the
can happen.
companies were smart, every company I've been in, they've had some kind of HR training or phishing
Yeah,
training or whatever, and they're very boring and it's very like duh, but they make it that way and easy to understand because there's are people out there that don't get it, that would be
correct.
that would panic, and a lot of the things that the quote unquote hackers, I really wouldn't call them hackers, I'd call them scammers. What
Scammers.
what these scammers do is they try to get an emotional response.
Mhm.
They want you to panic, and then when you panic, you don't think and you make rash decisions. So they'll send an email that like, "Oh, we see on your report that you have a $2,000 Amazon purchase. Can we have to confirm to make sure this isn't a scam?" When they're the scammers. So they try to get you emotionally panicking to
Yep.
not read the headline, not read the email address, not look at the logos. Like all of those stuff are tells. And there was one actually that I read this week about a clever one about PayPal. And so the number one thing was like when you get an email is to look at who's sending the email. And if it looks weird, and in this case it was PayPal, and usually they'll misspell it or they'll use a weird symbol and you're like, that's not PayPal. But this scammer was clever where instead of using, it was PayPal, PAYPAL, but instead of an L at the end, it was an uppercase I. And when you look at it on the text, it looks like
Yep.
a lowercase L. So people were falling for it. And it wasn't until somebody went in and they copied the name and put it in some of their software that he was like, "Wait a minute, this looks like an I, not an L." And sure enough, it was a scammer that, you know,
Always
those
click on the email address and look at the real email
Don't
address.
click, hover.
No, well, yeah, that's what I mean, hover. And I'm not saying click. But you go in an email and you hover over, you'll see the actual email address, and it will be something completely
Yeah, weird.
from outer space.
Yeah.
There was an article I still get even though I haven't rejoined, I still get the AARP magazine. And they said one of the worst scams out there today they're trying to educate people about, especially seniors, is where someone calls or connects with you to say, your grandson was just arrested
Mhm.
for a traffic violation or something. Needs to get money for bail. And they will play against the heartstrings of that person to get them to send the money for the bail because like you said, Katie, it's that emotional attachment. This happened. The weird way I wasn't personally exposed to this was my family. My brother-in-law, who was why they would call him, I don't know. He's in Atlanta. He gets a call from supposedly our nephew that lives in Maine. Uncle Bruce, I was here in Raleigh on business and I went out with my friends and I got a DUI. This is the only call I can make now. Looking for money. But the weird part about it was right away, he's like, this isn't right. So he played it out. And over time, the amount of money he was asking for got to be less and less to try to overcome the objection to it. So he calls my sister. He says, it looks like Michael is supposed to be in Raleigh. And she says, Michael is sitting across the table from me in Maine. So that was confirmation. He knew it was wrong. He called me to say, is he in town? I said, no, not that I know. He'd call me if he was here, but very clever. I mean, he couldn't tell from talking to this kid who was on the phone that it wasn't Michael. He started to ask questions.
say
And
that's why I always tell my mom, if you ever get something and you have any kind of doubt, just call me. Call me first.
Right.
So, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's from your medical office and they're texting you about this or whatever. If you have any kind of doubts or any kind of questions, don't respond to them. Just call me and I'll suss out whether it's right or not.
Pam will answer calls every once in a while just for fun. Somebody called with a very heavy Indian accent. Hello, ma'am. Are you the one who was having trouble with your feet? And she goes, no. It's just, oh, were you having trouble with your arms? And they just were looking for something.
Uh,
It was so obvious. I thought it was a joke. It was literally somebody trying to, they figure eventually I'll hit on something that they're really feeling, right? They're yeah, well, yeah, it's my knees. Yes, your knees.
Are your feelings hurt? My feelings are hurt.
yeah. So the bottom line again: education, 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 and try to stop it before you fall into it. All right. It looks like Amazon and Stripe have signed an agreement that will see the two companies increase the use of each other's services. And Amazon plans to increase the use of Stripe's payment processing services, and Stripe expands its use of Amazon Web Services. That's nice. It's more business on both sides. I was reading some story that I don't remember who it was, is no longer supported. Oh, I think, is it GitHub? Not the last, something that where you sponsor somebody, you can't use PayPal anymore. It's interesting
Wait, why can't you use PayPal? Because I use PayPal.
because they don't. No, that you cannot use PayPal on GitHub. Get get get
You GitHub is a file repository. You wouldn't use
yeah,
any payment
but you
on
something
those.
about sponsoring. Do you sponsor anybody on it?
No.
What about GitLab?
Wait. On GitHub, can you
No.
subscribe to developers?
I don't
I
think so.
I
Not that
don't
I've
know.
ever seen.
Anyway, the point is that PayPal is beginning to kind of lose faith in with companies. It's not new, but it's one here, one there, and before you know it, it's hey, a
When you say
government.
lose faith with companies, you
It's
mean
they don't want
companies are not using them?
right. They say no, we're not going to use these anymore. We're not going to work with PayPal anymore.
Well, let me tell you this. There's a couple of reasons. Well,
Okay,
there's a variety of reasons, but there's a couple of interesting things. There's a lot more of these easy payment. The reason everybody used PayPal and has used PayPal is because it was always easy. I mean, they made
and
the whole process so damn easy for the end user.
they're the
If you didn't
oldest,
have a what?
and they're the oldest.
They're one of the
So a
oldest.
lot of people.
One of the great things about PayPal was if you had a PayPal account, great, you could pay through PayPal. If you didn't have a PayPal account, didn't matter. You just enter your credit card and they handle the
Yeah,
processing as if you had an account.
right.
But now with things like Stripe and some of these other platforms that are just as user friendly, um, it makes PayPal a little bit less interesting from my
It
vantage
may
point.
cost, and the other ones may cost less too. I don't know. I don't use them.
Well, yeah, PayPal has always been known to have some of the higher fees
Yeah,
because they offer all of those services.
yeah, yeah.
What I didn't like about PayPal when I first started doing it was they pushed to get access to a checking account, which I was never going to do, right?
Well,
Because I didn't have a requirement for inbound money. So I've always stuck with just having a credit card on file to use for purchase. And I'm very happy with the way that works. I use it occasionally, but mostly to buy stuff like on eBay or something like that, where it's just, or if I want to buy something and remain insulated.
so Gal, what happened? Where they didn't like you? The computer
Uh,
didn't like you?
Something like that. Some USB device causing issue. I don't know.
I was
Didn't like
just
my strong language.
I was just telling you that your audio was going kind of deteriorating,
Yeah, I heard
and
you and saw
bam,
you and everything. It's just I was frozen out
yeah,
and I couldn't do anything
okay, all
because it disconnected my mouse and my keyboard as well. It's like I had to reboot. Annoying.
right. A government watchdog, this is from 2 weeks ago, a government watchdog has published a scathing rebuke of the Department of the Interior's cybersecurity posture, finding it was able to crack thousands of employee user accounts because the department's security policies allowed easy guessable passwords like password 1234. The report by the Office of the Inspector General for the Department of the Interior, tasked with oversight of U.S. executive agency that manages the country's federal land, national parks, and a budget of billions of dollars, said that the department's reliance on password as the sole way of protecting some of its most important systems and employees' user accounts has bucked nearly 2 decades of the government's own cybersecurity guidance of mandating stronger two-factor authentication. It concludes that poor password policies put the department at risk of a breach that could lead to a high probability of massive disruptions to its operation.
Okay.
That's
Okay. This is fantastic. This is also a continuation from our previous.
Yeah.
And also this loops into the first thing about government sites being overly engineered. They discovered that by not forcing, right, a complex password, they allowed simple passwords to work.
Sure.
But there wasn't a breach in the last 20 years. They themselves did a test and found out that people are using simple passwords, right?
Yeah.
Internal access provided internal ability to hack, but it's a bit like the child who cried wolf, right? This is like, we should use strong passwords, but we've never been breached. Passwords are great. Once you breach them, they are useless.
Mhm.
But it was a convenience to people to use 1234 to log in every day to their computer,
Yeah.
right? Nobody wants to remember a password. I think that's the lesson from it. The reason people choose easy password, the reason people choose the same password for all of their websites is because nobody wants to remember passwords. But nobody is educating people on how they can protect themselves, right? So if everybody is using the same key to enter the doors in the neighborhood, as long as nobody knows everybody's using the same key,
Right.
right? There isn't any risk.
Mhm.
The problem starts when somebody starts looking around, when somebody starts to ask questions, right? So instead of all of that, start educating people. That's the only missing link,
Yep.
right? We
Education.
like to blame the people. We like to blame the fact that this is not the first thing you teach a 6-year-old in a kindergarten, right? It's like, this needs to be like basic knowledge,
Yeah.
To
and it
add
doesn't exist.
to add to that metaphor, it also is like if somebody got a copy of a key and now somebody else has it. Nobody lost their original key. Somebody else
Yeah,
just has a copy and they're going around and sneaking into people's houses without anybody knowing.
Yeah.
and they think they have a magic key, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah. I
don't know.
mean,
It's like passwords are useless in the grand scheme of things. They are a hindrance. There needs to be a solution, right? But nobody is actually looking into how to make things simpler.
What about the facial recognition for the phones?
That won't work either,
Why not?
because first, it's inaccurate. Second, so you have a picture of somebody and you put it in front of it, and
Oh
and
yeah,
you're
that's a
done,
good point.
right? It's not. It's
That yeah, hold
always
on though.
more factors.
It's way more inherent. It's that's not. I mean, that's back 30 years ago. That's what facial technology was. Not
It
now.
still works the same way. Try it.
I do try to use
You
it
can
every day on my
open
phone.
your phone with your image on the show right now.
I guarantee you I can.
Right?
I
Prove me
mean, there'll
wrong.
be situations where me in certain sunlight, it doesn't recognize that it's me, which is which some people might say, "Oh, this is a pain." Others would say, "That's good." The fact that it doesn't just look at any random facial structure and go, "Oh, that's who that person is." That happens all the time. It happens, yeah.
Another way my phone opens if it can't recognize my face is that I have an Apple Watch, and if it sees that I'm wearing my Apple Watch and it's a certain distance away from the phone, it'll unlock it.
Oh, I'm blocking my face. That's why.
Mine is not. I'm pointing mine at my.
You're not
Y'all look
on it. Wait
crazy.
a second.
Putting your
Trying.
phones to
Yeah,
the
I don't know. I don't know whether the nope.
Apple's
Not,
facial recognition is absolutely phenomenal. It's industry best.
oh wait, I know why. Hold on.
So, I mean, here's the thing, Gal. Everything is changeable. I mean,
I agree.
so I think facial ID is an absolutely phenomenal step.
I agree. It's an amazing step,
Well,
right?
take a
But
great example. Go take a screenshot of yourself, print it out on a piece of paper, and hold it up to the phone. I would. It's not going to open the phone.
yeah, I'm trying and I'm failing for now. So
It,
for now.
it's
New
I know
challenge
I know
unlocked.
I'll find a way that it works.
Oh, it will work. The point is, it's like the idea of just like holding yourself up to holding a picture up to a phone to unlock it. Like that may have worked 10 years ago, but now with the way that the camera has the lidar and stuff like that, where it's sensing depth and it can look at the field of what it's looking at. That's why it works.
Why not fingerprints? I had a computer years ago, like 15 years ago, a laptop that would unlock by scanning my fingerprint.
My laptop has that now. The power button on my laptop's a fingerprint
Yeah, I
scanner.
have
That's
the
how I
same.
unlock.
Yeah, so what?
Yeah,
Like,
my phone has it as well.
iPhone had that till they got rid of the home button.
And you could open a lot of
no
these.
home button have a print. It's on the screen. And it
That's
Okay.
cool.
works.
That is one thing I wish Apple would do, is put the fingerprint on the screen.
okay, so there's the solution to all the websites is that you
No, it's
have
not a solution.
why?
It's a tool, but it cannot replace. There always need to be two things. You need to know something and you need to have something. I have my finger, but I also need to know a secret.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the way it
but the
works.
original problem, the original thing you brought up was that people didn't want to remember passwords, so they used 123. So
Right.
what's even simpler than that, not to remember something, is just use your fingers. So if there, say that there was a tool, I don't know, like maybe your phone
But
can be
that's the thing.
connected to
That's
the
not the
website.
solution either. So you don't want the bank to know your finger, because then the bank can get hacked and your finger is public knowledge. They'll find a way of faking the touch of your finger. Okay. So you need your own secret vault, right? That exchange different secrets with different organizations, right? And you can open your own secret vault with your password locally. This machine I can open access to my secret vault, but to connect to the secret vault, I had to set up a very complex with two-factor authentication process to the secret vault. They're always your safest secrets. They need to be stored, right, in the correct way. And then the small secrets, they can be communicated in back-end channel. And if one of those end cracks, right, under the pressure of hacking, then at least the only thing you lost is one secret, not all of your secrets.
So
That's the problem today. We're tying everything to
we
one
need to
small.
set up, so if you're thinking about this as you have a hallway that you need to get to, and at the end of the hallway is the treasure. You need to set up multiple booby traps and multiple security
Yeah,
steps, and just having an easy password is just them jumping over a whole or whatever in the ground to get to the treasure, or if you could set up more complicated things. But like you said before, a lot of people don't want to do all that because it's a hassle.
Yeah.
The government has a great solution coming out that's going to be announced soon. It's a special helmet that you wear that will measure the bumps on your head.
Wow. Is it made out of
You just have-
tinfoil?
No. It's an actual helmet. You wear it all the time. You can't take it off. And everybody has to wear one. You get different colors.
Oh, good. I want mine in
And it does the same.
stylish
It
colors.
also serves as a crash helmet in case you're in an accident. So they're using the Department of Transportation and human resources together to create this solution. It's great.
Gal, all
Yeah.
kidding aside, does any of these password vault have the option of that when you say, I want you to save it, they'll come and say, hey, you're already using this one on another site?
Yes and no. They're
Okay. But somebody thought about
LastPass, for example, that we talked about in the past. I know because I had experience with them,
Mhm.
right, in the past. So at one point, they created something called a scoring system where you would run on your password vault, and it'll give you a score. And the score was based on how many times you are reusing passwords, password report. I think Bitwarden has something similar. Uh, so it'll tell you how many of your accounts have the same password, for example. So maybe not when you save it, but
Now, this should
as a
be
way of reviewing. Yeah.
when you're saving it right there and then. It'll say, no, you're already using, so you can
Yeah,
go
or
and
you
change
just
it.
always use a random one, and then you know that it's not reusing, right?
Yeah.
Because you're using something random. So
Okay.
I think the habit of always using a random one solves you that. The problem is dealing with what already exists,
Yeah.
and what you need to fix.
Yup. All right. Anything else that time?
Nah, I already vented about Microsoft. I'll have something else to complain about next weekend.
I will not be here.
Okay. Traveling?
Yep, going down to Charleston.
Nice.
Oh, Charleston's pretty.
Oh,
Never been.
Oh,
Like
it's
a-
nice. Yeah.
It's like
Nice
a
town.
better Savannah. That's probably blasphemy to say.
They do
Yeah.
have, if you have time, Nick, they do have tours where they'll
Mhm.
take you around to a brief city tour, different lengths of time. You can go
Yeah,
to the
I s-
downtown where the farmer's market is downtown. They have a little tourist agency where you can walk in and book a tour.
I was thinking of that. I'm going to be down there for
Yeah.
a couple days for my birthday.
And
So.
they have a mock-up of the Monitor, not the Monitor, I'm sorry, the Hunley, the submarine from the first submarine used in the Civil War. You can see that's outdoors in a park. And if you have time, you can go and actually see the one that was pulled up and being restored. If you have to buy tickets for it though.
Will this interfere with my drinking? Though is the question.
That's daytime activity.
Priorities
So-
straight.
Wait, hold on a second, Kyle. Wait, are you trying to indicate that daytime drinking is not a daytime activity? Because you are woefully incorrect if that's what you're thought.
I mean, look, you're young.
That
For
is an
me-
objective. That is an objective fact. I mean,
right.
I would imagine
So
you could
it's
get a
probably
drinking
still
tour of the city.
okay in a way. You can recover easily from that.
I'm pretty sure they have a drinking tour of the city that you can take.
that is a great idea.
You
Like,
know they-
look at this history. Here's
You know
what
they
they would have been
probably-
drinking.
Have those beer trolleys.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
The pedal
Yeah,
trolleys,
where you
the one
pedal-
you pedal yourself.
They were everywhere in Savannah, so I'm sure that they're in Charleston
Those
too.
are lame. I don't like those things.
Well, I agree because I don't want to drink and exercise at the same time. It defeats the
Yeah, you don't have-
purpose.
Now there is a cool one here in Wilmington. It's a boat where you pedal and it moves a big. What's the wheel on the back of the
Paddle
ship
wheel.
called?
A
Paddle
propeller?
wheel. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Because you're on a
Until
boat.
everybody gets so drunk they can't paddle anymore.
That
And then they have a
sounds-
little trolling motor for when that happens.
Absolutely not. That sounds like a nightmare. Drinking, swaying of the water, and exercising.
I call that a Saturday afternoon.
That sounds like I'm gonna get sick in like 2 seconds flat. No, if I'm drinking, I'm not doing any exercise. I'm certainly not on a dinghy.
It's not a dinghy. I mean, we're not talking about we're not talking about a rescue raft. We're talking about
Yeah,
a boat.
but it's not going to be like a cruise liner. I will drink on a cruise like that. Peak performance, but like
Well,
no.
Amnon, send us Amnon. We should do the inaugural Computers 2K Now celebrity cruise. You pay for all of us to go, and our listeners can come.
You can bring your hot tub.
I'll talk with
It's-
I'll talk with SpaceX.
Why?
Might as
We're gonna go
well,
hang
you
out
know.
out of orbit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Katie,
please.
will you drink and go and weightlessness?
I mean, I would. Yeah. Well, it depends. I do get motion sick, so.
No, no.
All
I don't
right.
want Katie going on the cruise. It's male
No,
only
I can
cruise.
do a cruise. That's why I need a big boat. On a big boat, I'm fine. But when it gets to something smaller than a cruise line, watch out.
Uh-huh. Okay, guys.
Bye.
That was a blast. It was nice. So thanks, Nick. Thanks, Gal, Katie, Spence. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Donna, Dina, Mati, Eleanor, Sarid, Yaakov, and Yael. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. And change same passwords where you use them. You don't want to use the same password. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. Nick is on Wilmington's 980 The Wave and 107.9 FM with his morning news show. You can tell your Echo device to play 980 The Wave to listen to him. Or you can go to recordings at nickcraig.com. And Tuesdays at 7 p.m., Nick and Brian do the Infection Podcast on Twitch. This is survival games and gaming news and some political comments. So Tuesday evening, 7, twitch.tv/Infection Podcast. Y'all have a great, great week, and we'll be back next weekend. Bye-bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.